Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
Trending large at Facebook yet again, ladies and gentlemen, your host trending number one at Facebook at this very moment. And you want to know why? How many weeks ago did we do this? It has to be at least maybe a week, maybe 10 days. Here's what's trending number one on Facebook. Rush Limbaugh, radio host, says Obama is encouraging lesbians to become farmers to attack rural states. How long ago did we do that story? You know what's amazing about this? By the way, greetings, my friends, and it's great to have you here. It's great to be back. I'm a little tired. I may take 10 minutes here or there during the program, like Mrs. Clinton does during debates. You know, you got to do what you got to do to keep going. 800-282-2882. The email address is new again. It's rushbo@eibnet.us. So we had this story. This is kind of interesting about Facebook in a way. It's I don't spend a lot of time there, obviously. Nothing against those of you who do. Don't misunderstand. But this story is at least, I have to have Coco Jr. tell me when I did this as a quick website search. But it's nothing I made up. I mean, the story was that the Department of Agriculture was extending grant money to lesbians, encouraging them to become farmers. And I asked the obvious question, why in the world, of all the things that you could give lesbians money to do something with, why in the world would it be farming? And, of course, my expert opinion was that the Obama administration is, well, they're leftists, and they're constantly attacking. They are constantly in aggressive forward march mode. And the one area of America that is predominantly conservative is rural America. So what better way to make inroads in that than to dangle a bunch of money in front of some lesbians and say, in order to get it, you got to go on the farm. You got to go out and be farmers. It was a legitimate story. I forget whose story it was. But here it is, trending number one at least a week later, maybe a week and a half later on Facebook. It was last Wednesday, so it's exactly 1 week ago. And it has just now found its way to Facebook. Radio host says Obama encouraging lesbians to become farmers to attack rural. Well, as far as it goes, that's, it's fairly accurate. Anyway, folks, great to have you here. The lead story in the drive-by media, there are two lead stories. The first lead story is that Trump is softening on immigration. The drive-bys are attempting to say that Trump is doing what everybody knew he was going to do, and that is he's not going to build a wall, and he's not going to deport a bunch of people. And all that talk during the primaries and all that talk in the early stages of the presidential campaign about building the wall and sending people home was never going to happen. The drive-bys say, we told you, and now Trump is admitting it. Trump is softening on immigration, and the drive-bys are out doing man-on-the-street interviews with Trump supporters. They are trying to find Trump supporters who are ready to throw in the towel now. They want to go out there. They want to find Trump supporters that feel betrayed. They want to find Trump supporters that are mad about it, and they can't. What they're finding is exactly what I told them would be the case last fall. They don't understand the connection between Trump and his supporters. It's not that hard to understand, particularly when I explain it so well. It must be hard to accept. It isn't hard to understand. I think one of the problems the drive-bys and others who don't understand it are having is that they may never have experienced it. They may never have experienced this kind of connection. Because what is happening, at least with the people on the street that the drive-bys are finding, that Trump supporters are making excuses for him. They're saying things like, well, you know, you have to do what you have to do to build your campaign. Sometimes you have to moderate what you're saying. Sometimes you have to do things in a different way to build your base. Sometimes you have to change a little bit. Whatever, they're finding any number of ways to excuse Trump supposedly softening on immigration. By the way, I'm not accepting the premise yet. I'm just throwing it out as the drive-bys are suggesting it. Byron York has a piece today at the Washington Examiner saying that whatever they're doing, the Trump campaign is now obviously confused. And they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know how to do it, and their immigration policy seems to be up for grabs now. I'm paraphrasing Byron York's story, but this is the premise that the drive-bys are operating under. Oh, here's something else, too, by the way. I'm getting a lot of email after the program yesterday from people who are objecting to what they think that I said yesterday. I'm always fascinated by what people hear. You know, as the nation's leading communicator, as America's anchorman, as America's truth detector, one of my objectives every day is to actually be understood. And I go to great lengths. I say things sometimes in two or three different ways. I, in explaining things, try to anticipate things people might understand and address them and re-explain. I go the full mile trying to communicate exactly what I mean, but it always happens that there will be some who don't get it nevertheless. It's nobody's fault. It's just human nature. I received a number of emails yesterday afternoon, from people who say, Rush, you know, you really are beginning to sound desperate on Trump. And I looked at them and I said, wow, that's curious. What in the world? And what they were talking about was, you know, you keep talking about this guy in the Washington Post, Robert Costa, who reported about a month ago that many in the Hillary campaign and many in the drive-bys, which is one and the same, are actually very concerned about people that are not being polled because they haven't voted in a long time because they're so fed up. There are two numbers you put together. 70% of the American people think the country's headed in the wrong direction, and that's borne out in a number of different polls. And then the other number is roughly 50% of the American adult population doesn't vote every presidential race every 4 years. So you put those two numbers together and you end up with a large number of people who may think the country's headed in the wrong direction but who don't vote. And Mr. Costa's point in the Washington Post was, he was talking to Charlie Rose, said, what if they show up? What if those are the people that really, really love Trump? They're just fed up with everything about American politics. They're fed up with the insider stuff. They're fed up with just everything that's happening, and their protest is to not vote and tune out and just try to take care of themselves. What if Trump's really, really firing them up? And then there was a column yesterday by Selena Zito, who's a columnist at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review, in which she stated she'd ridden around the state of Pennsylvania, and she found in all these rural areas, and not just rural, but small towns outside the big cities of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, she'd found Trump yard signs everywhere. This is, no matter where she went, there was this overwhelming evidence of massive support for Donald Trump. And she described these people to a T. These are people that used to define what was moral and immoral. They used to define cultural do's and don'ts. They used to define values and so forth, and now they don't. They have been superseded and by cultural rot, and they have tuned out too. And so I talked about both of those, and I alluded to the possibility, not with any hope. I mean, I'm not doing this with any hope or that polling is missing them. And I did make mention that there could be some great silent majority out there. Anyway, the emails I got from people last night, boy, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. Rush, do you really think those people aren't being polled? Do you really think there's a whole giant mess of people out there waiting to show up and give Trump a landslide win that nobody's finding and nobody's polling and nobody's talking to and everybody's ignoring? And I never have said that because I don't know. I'm just sharing with you the thoughts and opinions of a couple of people here that intrigue me. Robert Costa, writing in the Washington Post, and Selena Zito's piece yesterday. intrigue me. I'm not suggesting that there is this giant swell, this giant unseen, waiting to be unleashed movement that's going to deliver a landslide victory to Trump, nor am I sitting here trying to be phony and artificially optimistic about anything. I'm just giving you the lay of the land and analyzing it as I see it. But so many people, I thought I'd been very clear about this, so I was happy to get the emails to find out how people are hearing this, that they think that I am doing what I can to get people to not give up, to hold out hope. And the point of the emails, most of the ones that agreed, were it's not possible that there are that many people not being polled that nobody knows about, that are lurking out there waiting for Election Day to show up and turn Trump into a landslide winner. And you're doing your audience a disservice, Mr. Limbaugh, if you keep talking that way. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm merely reporting and reacting to what other people are saying about it. There's another one today that I want to throw out to you. I did a test discussion on this with Mr. Snerdley before the program started. Sometimes I do that. You know, people test market products. I sometimes test market topics. So Mr. Snerdley came in at the appointed time to do some things. It's around 30 minutes before the program began. So I hit him with a question. I said, Mr. Snerdley, look at the Clintons. Look at this. That's the other big story, is that half the people Hillary met with paid her for the privilege. Half of the people, while she's Secretary of State, half of the people, if not more, paid her. Paid the Clinton Foundation tens of millions of dollars. In fact, if you wanted to talk to Hillary Clinton when she's Secretary of State, the odds are you had to signal that you were willing to pay her foundation something. And people, you know, the AP, it's a blockbuster story. The Clinton camp is trying to say they cherry-picked a bunch of stuff. This is not anything like it looks. It's just crazy. Mrs. Clinton was too busy as Secretary of State to be doing all this kind of stuff. This is an outrageous story. It may be the first news story in a couple of years that the Clintons think is unfair to them. We have to deal with multiple stories every day that we think is unfair to us or unfair to us. But the question, here's what this is. Michael Goodwin at the New York Post has a column. He had a column on Sunday about the collapse of journalism. And he's back today, and he's got a question. Why do all this? I mean, here's the pattern, or the timeline. Hillary Clinton runs for president, 2008, loses. Really humiliated. I mean, it was hers. That was to be her coronation. The Democrats had promised her that, and they ended up throwing her overboard or under the bus, whichever is more appealing to you in your imagination, for Barack Hussein. So Hillary says, okay, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to run for president again. And the odds are the soonest she's going to be able to do that's 2016, this year. So what does she do? She becomes Secretary of State in the Obama administration for the first term, quits, writes books, does speeches, gets rich to set herself up for her presidential run. Now, doing all of that, they set up the Clinton Family Foundation. They have the Clinton Global Initiative, and and she sets up the private email server, and all of this stuff that is, it's inarguably scandal-ridden, and much of it is inarguably illegal. The question, why do it? The question is, what is there that we still don't know about this? Because there has to be something we don't know yet. It may not be easy and provable to say that whatever's gone on is criminal, but boy, does it get close to the edge. And it clearly is in violation of ethics. So she sets up the server with her private email account, and you have to figure she knows this is going to get discovered. Then we learn what's been going on when she was Secretary. Forget Benghazi. I mean, we add this to all that. She wasn't doing anything but collecting money. If you wanted to meet with Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, you had to pay for it, and a lot of people did. A lot of people paid $32 million, $10 million, $15 million, $1,750,000. You had to pay her in order to get a meeting with her, to discuss diplomacy. Even if you're a world leader, if you're foreign government, you had to pay her. The odds are, I mean, not everybody, but it's an inordinate number of people. Over half of her meetings that she took. And this does not include, by the way, meetings with 16 diplomats from other countries. This is strictly individuals. So the question, okay, why? You have to know that's going to get learned, too. You know that this is going to come out. At some point it's going to learn you got to pay for play operation going on. You've got your private email server. You can get rich anyway, legally. All you got to do is give speeches, write books, huge advances, and you can get plenty rich. You can get far richer than you were when you left the White House. Yet they did this. They went right up to the edge, and they maybe crossed the line a number of times, ethically and perhaps even legally. And these are the people that they monetized the Lincoln bedroom, for crying out loud. They sold access to the Lincoln bedroom. If you wanted to sleep in a Lincoln bedroom, you had to donate to their re-election campaign back in the 90s. So the question is, why? Why risk it all doing all of this? It can't just be to get rich, because they could have done that without doing this. They might not have gotten as rich. But why do this? And the theory is there's still something out there. There's still something. There's an answer to that question that they don't want us to know that could be devastating. I have to take a break. So anyway, Mr. Snerdley took his stab at answering this, and made me think I wasn't asking the question in the right way. So I'm going to keep at this, along with everything else we got going. Welcome back. Great to have you, El Rushbo. We have a new survey from the Pew Research Center for people in the press. The headline, Americans Giving Up on God and Miracles. Half of Americans who have left their church no longer believe in God, leading a surge of nearly 25% of the country who have no affiliation with any religion, according to this new survey. The Pew Research Center said, what is this? This is Wednesday. So they said today, the Pew Research Center said today 49% of what they term nuns, N-O-N-E-S, no affiliation, left their church and religion because they don't believe anymore. Another 20% said that they don't like organized religion. Other reasons included common sense and a lack of belief in miracles. The survey, the latest from Pew, demonstrates a growing trend in America. More and more people are junking religion, and many are giving up on God. Let me ask those of you among the faithful a question. It's a biblical question. I don't want any calls on this. We don't do that here. Just asking the question. It's a think question. Do you believe God punishes nations and people who turn against him or who abandon him? No calls on that, Mr. Snerdley. We're not going that. I just want you to think about the question. Greetings and welcome back. Great to have you, El Rushbo, serving humanity simply by showing up. We have a new Reuters poll out. Clinton leading Trump by 12 points. This is a Reuters national poll, and it's among likely voters. It's her strongest showing this month, according to a Reuters Ipsos opinion poll released yesterday. Now, remember something here, folks. Reuters has recently changed their polling methods and their techniques. Remember, they no longer count undecideds. Nobody is allowed to be undecided in a Reuters poll. And yet people are undecided. There's still a bunch of people. In any sample that you're going to poll, there are going to be some undecideds. So what does Reuters do? Well, Reuters assigns those people to either Trump or Hillary based on what they think they are hearing those people say. And ever since Reuters decided to not allow people to say they were undecided, I mean, even though they're not allowed to say so. Ever since they did that, Hillary's numbers have gone up. And Pat Caddell's made a big deal out of this. Pat Caddell, this is one of the most, I don't know, not dishonest, but this is one of the most misleading results that you could get. Because undecideds are a huge number. Undecideds are a very important number in any poll. The undecideds, and when they break, when do they make up their minds? If you're going to do a poll where nobody in it's allowed to be undecided, and the pollster gets to ultimately determine where those people fall, and they're obviously assigning more undecideds to the Hillary camp than they are to the Trump camp. So, I just wanted to mention, if you see the Reuters poll and it shows Hillary up by 12, remember, they've done away with the undecided aspect. Now, back to this the blockbuster AP story, which the nub of this is the following. Many donors to Clinton Foundation met with her at State. More than half the people outside the government who met with Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State gave money, either personally or through companies or groups, to the Clinton Foundation. It's an extraordinary proportion, indicating her possible ethics challenges if elected president. At least 85 out of 154 people from private interests who met or who had phone conversations scheduled with Mrs. Clinton while she was Secretary of State donated to her family charity or pledged commitments to its international programs. This, according to a review of State Department calendars released so far to the Associated Press. Combined, the 85 donors contributed as much as $156 million. At least 40 donated more than $100,000 each, and 20 of these people gave more than $1 million each. This is the very definition of pay to play. And for all of those people out there saying, hey, wait, this is just access. This is not favors. As I said yesterday, the access is the favor. You pay to get Mrs. Clinton on the phone. You pay to get a meeting with Mrs. Clinton. That's the favor. Then, after you've paid, you get the meeting and you explain why you gave the money. Now, what would happen next is Huma Abedin Weiner or Cheryl Mills would get hold of somebody over at Hillary's office and say, Sleazebag one here from some Middle East potentate is interested in giving you $20 million, won't speak to you. Hillary takes the call. Okay, now, everybody thinks that the guy giving the $20 million is expecting something and is going to get it, the pay for play. He gives the $20 million, goes to the foundation. Hillary, either as Secretary of State or on the come as president, look, everybody knows what's going on here. Because it's very simple. If it ever became known that Hillary would not meet with or do favors to donors, the money would dry up. It's just that simple. And everybody knew. You didn't have to send out memos. The Clinton Family Foundation didn't have to advertise. They didn't have to send out email blasts or any of that. It just was known that you could buy Hillary Clinton, that you could buy Bill Clinton, and buying Bill Clinton would help you buy Hillary. It was well known. No advertisement necessary. Donors to Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea received quo for their quid. And if they didn't, game over. If Hillary didn't pay back somehow, if that $20 million just sat there and nothing happened as a result, you think it'd keep coming in? Everybody knew. Everybody out there who wanted to buy access knew that they could. This is something that, look, it seems obvious, but not a lot of people are talking about it. Ask yourself this. How did everybody who donated, and we're talking here over half, 150, over half of them, how did they know to do it? How did they know they could? How did they know the Clinton concierge service was available? How does sleazebag potentate number one here know that he can reach Hillary Clinton by giving to her foundation? They don't advertise it. They don't send out email blasts. So how did all of these people, again, as the AP says, just to give you the exact words, more than half the people outside government who met with Hillary Clinton while Secretary of State gave money, how did they know they could? They did. They knew they could. And I'll tell you what, if after giving the money nothing happened, if it had become known that Hillary would not meet with you, if it had been learned that Hillary would not do favors, that money would dry up. They're not sending that money in because they love Hillary, they love Bill. There had to be a quo. There had to be a quid. There had to be a pro. There had to be a payoff somehow, somewhere, or a promise to. Otherwise, the money dries up. The Clinton Foundation is a front organization, a little bit of charity over here to keep everybody happy and occupied, while a whole lot of corruption is going on over here. It's a laundromat. It's a laundromat for donations to the Clintons. And again, they didn't have to advertise it. People just knew. How did they know? No, I'm not asking it rhetorically. I know you're, well, what do you mean, Rush? How'd they know? I mean, the Clintons have been known as who's going to think. I know that's my whole point. The Clintons have been selling access since the Lincoln bedroom days. The Clintons have been selling access since they've been in politics. That's how everybody knew. That's why they didn't have to advertise it. The Clintons have been corrupt from get-go. And Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin, when these bribes came in, they don't seem to be embarrassed or insulted by it. Imagine you're working at the Clinton Foundation, and the phone rings. It's sleazebag potentate from the Middle East. Hello, I wish to donate $50 million to the Clinton Family Foundation in exchange for a 10-minute meeting with Hillary Clinton. Sir, how dare you think that the Secretary of State's time is up for sale? There was none of that. There was, okay, well, how about if you want 20 minutes, make it $60 million. Why was there no embarrassment? Why weren't these people insulted? None of that, because this was a well-oiled operation. A laundromat. Huma Abedin Wiener and Cheryl Mills were ecstatic when sleazebags from around the world phoned in, wanted a meeting with Hillary, and were more than happy to pay millions of dollars for it. This open-door corruption policy was working just as designed, and it didn't require any advertising. Look, folks, if the Clintons were not interested in selling policy favors, well, then none of this would have gone on. But here's the second route. Okay, so sleazebag potentate A, or pick any of them. Pick any of these sleazebags that are giving money to the Clinton Crime Family Foundation. Everybody thinks that the Clintons have to perform in order to justify getting the money. But sleazebag potentate A gives, pick a number, $10 million to Hillary. Hillary is going to come back to sleazebag potentate A, and she's going to ask him for something somewhere down the line, too. It's going to go both ways. It's not just that Hillary is vulnerable. It's not just Hillary has to perform and pay off. She is now going to be able, for granting the access and for doing favors, even though he's paid for it, she can still ask additional favors. So this is a two-way operation here. And I circle back to the question, why? Why? None of this is necessary to win the presidency. None of this, I mean, even if you don't know that Donald Trump's going to be the nominee, and even if you think you're going to have formidable opposition, running for president in 2016. Look, I need more time to delve into this question. I got to take a break now, but sit tight. We'll come back and continue down this road when we get back. Okay, I'm going to get started on the phones. People are backed up here waiting patiently, but I'm going to circle back to all this Trump immigration and the big question: why are the Clintons risking everything doing what they're doing here when they don't have to? You may think you've got the answers, and you may have, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to keep asking the question, because there's something more here. I agree with Michael Goodwin. There's something we don't know yet beyond what appears to be obvious. In the meantime, Nathan in Lynchburg, Virginia, you're first today. It's great to have you on the EIB network. Hi.
Hey, Rush. How you doing, man?
Very well, sir. Thank you.
Hey, I was born in 1978, and I grew up with Reagan. Loved him as I knew him as a child, and it was a really good time. I can remember a lot of good things about the 80s. I didn't really get involved in politics, and I have never voted before in my life. I just registered, and the ironic part is I had a liberal friend who was running for Sanders that loved Sanders so much. She believed in democracy and in voting, and she convinced me to go ahead and do it. Although, at first, as soon as I saw that Trump was running, I said, there is a chance, and I told everybody around me, all my friends, because I would always pick on them because they voted, because I didn't believe in the system. And I picked on them all the time about it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to register, and I'm going to vote this year. This is going to be the first time that I've ever voted. And it's not so much so that my beliefs about the system and the rigged system, as Trump says, he just speaks my language. And I truly believe that he is Reagan-esque, and I believe that he can do something because he's not a politician. And I do believe in Trump. And I tell you, it takes a lot for me to believe in someone.
Well, what was it about? I mean, you grew up as a child. You liked Reagan in the 80s. I agree with you. I mean, even though I got fired a bunch of times, those were good times. Those are good economic times. Country seems solid. I understand. But what is it? You went through that, and then you got soured on everything. What was it that soured you on it that you didn't want to register and participate?
The first Bush, he seemed to me to be weak and impotent and old and like feckless altogether. And, I was young at the time, but I could probably have voted for him. And then Clinton came along, and then second Bush, and the second Bush was nothing but a trap. And I wouldn't call myself a Republican. I would never classify myself as a Republican, especially nowadays. But I would lean more towards being a conservative.
Yeah.
The libertarians are just full of it. They're just wannabe Tea Partiers. I like the Tea Party, but I could never really reach
What about the alt-right guys? You like the alt-righters?
Yeah.
Oh, you might want to revise that later, but we'll take it for now. But still, Trump's excited you and has made you want to get engaged and get involved and participate for the first time. Is that basically the upshot of it?
Yeah, that is it. And you know what? I probably will never vote again after this one, unless someone like Trump comes along who speaks my language, who knows the problem.
Okay.
America's not afraid to say it.
Okay, we'll throw that in the hopper. He's representative of the kind of people Robert Costa's talking about out there. Washington Post. We will be back. Don't go away. And we are off and running. The EIB network in El Rushville. By the way, I just want to remind you a new email address. We scrubbed the old one. We're getting 15,000 emails every minute during the program. So we've changed it. It's lrushbo@eibnet.us. And I check them now and then. Be right back. Folks, I sit here. We report on and we talk about the Clintons a lot. And we joke about them. And we laugh about them. In addition to everything else that we do. We criticize them. We shine light on them. But what they're doing here with this foundation is really unethical at the least, and it is really, really sleazy. Greetings, welcome back. Great to have you, Rush Limbaugh, the EIB network, again at 800-282-2882. When you just stop and think about this, and I realize that people have a jaundiced view of politics, and I realize people have a jaundiced view of the establishment, and I realize people fully understand what the establishment is and how the establishment's in a completely different world than the rest of us. They have connections, they have abilities, they have privileges, including flirting on the edges of the law that the rest of us don't have. People are very much aware of that. But I think there's been as everything happens, if it happens slowly, like the old story of the frog. You put a frog in a pan with cold water, and you put it on the stove, and you turn on the heater, and the frog starts boiling but doesn't realize it until it's too late. It's so gradual. The frog adjusts to the temperature as it warms up until the breaking point, when it's too late. And that's kind of the way all of this happens. This sleaze has been going on for so long, and it started out small with nobody knowing about it. Then we get little dribs and dabs of it here and there. And by the time we find out just how dirty and filthy it is, we become kind of immune to it. It's like cultural rot. 30 years ago, you couldn't say certain words on TV. The first time the words were uttered, people, that is outrageous. Remember the wardrobe malfunction, the Super Bowl, with, Janice Jackson and Justin Timberlake? Janet Jackson. There was the outrage over that. Now, that wouldn't even raise an eyebrow. These things. So what used to be outrageous is the norm. Daniel Patrick Moynihan had a name for it, defining deviancy down. And what that means is that as things deteriorate and rot, you finally give up trying to fix them because it's futile, because they're worsening in the whole. So you just give up, and what used to be illegal becomes non-criminal and then eventually legal. And then eventually everything continues in a downward spiral. That is the Clintons. The Clintons have been on a perpetual downward spiral of corruption and ethical shenanigans for so long that a revelation like this is really in and of itself, just by itself. In another era, this would have disqualified the Clintons and it would have shamed them. And they would be out of public life. But Bill Clinton didn't even suffer any shame over the Lewinsky scandal and being convicted of perjury before grand jury and grand jury testimony, losing his law license. The whole thing, he's a rock star in the Democrat Party. Monica Lewinsky's life pretty much destroyed. The feminist groups in the Democrat Party who claim to exist to guard against that very thing piled on and helped destroy Monica Lewinsky in order to protect Bill Clinton. Now, the Clinton Global Initiative and all this charitable stuff, I'm convinced that some of it is to change perceptions of Clinton from the Lewinsky scandal and everything that's part of it. And you create the Clinton Global Initiative. You time its annual meeting with the UN's annual meeting in New York in September and October. And then you come up with the Clinton Family Foundation and you totally turn yourself into good works. And it's meant to rebuild a reputation from the Lewinsky days. Because obviously Clinton doesn't want that to be the last thing in the historical record on his life or his legacy or any of that. But even trying to turn it around, even trying to straighten out, the Clintons can't do anything but go lower. They create the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Family Foundation, and it becomes, it's a slush fund. They get filthy rich in curious ways that appear to be on the edge of ethical. And now Hillary, as Secretary of State, is selling access. You take this incident by itself and you transplant it into another era in this country, and they are finished. This is a big deal. But it isn't reported as a big deal for all the obvious reasons. The media wants her elected. The media is going to protect her. The media is going to do whatever they can to shield her and cast this as something, nothing to see here, no big deal. It's just politics as usual. She's not the first. Whatever excuses they come up with. But, folks, it's disqualifying. Here is a woman selling access to the United States Department of State, to donors, people donating to her personally. They're not even giving to the United States. They're giving to her. They're giving to her foundation, to her husband. And they're giving major amounts of money, $32 million here, $100 million there. Some of these shenanigans involve the United States uranium supply ending up being transferred into the hands of people in, Kazakhstan. The Clintons also have an underneath-the-table arrangement with one of the lead criminal oligarchs in Ukraine as a result of this foundation business. I mean, it's just filthy. It is, in a sane world, it's totally unacceptable. Whether you can prove criminality or not, this is one of those things where the perception of impropriety is so egregious, so obvious, so outrageous, that people would be running away from it. They wouldn't want to be tied to it. They wouldn't want to be linked to it. They wouldn't want to have any association with it for fear of being tainted by it. And yet, no such things happen. Now, there is one, and it's only one, something of that sort that's happened. It's kind of surprising to me. USA Today has an editorial, closed down the Clinton Foundation. USA Today is calling for the Clinton Foundation to shut down and to transfer its charitable work to other groups. And here's what they say. The only way to eliminate the odor surrounding the foundation is to wind it down and put it in mothballs starting today and transfer its important charitable work to another large American charity like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or some such thing. If Hillary Clinton doesn't support these steps, she boosts Trump's farcical presidential campaign. And if she's elected, she opens herself up to the same kind of pay-to-play charges that she was subject to as Secretary of State. Now, listen to their reasoning for this. They're not asking her to shut it down because it's wrong. They're not asking her to shut it down because it's sleazy and unethical. They're not asking her to shut this down for any reason other than if she keeps this up, she's going to help Trump. And we can't have that because Trump is a farce. And if she keeps this up and if she's elected, she's going to continue to open herself up to the same kind of pay-to-play charges she was subject to as Secretary. Well, how much did that hurt her? None of this stuff has hurt her. And that's what the Clintons know. None of this is going to harm them. They're going to get rich, and they're going to get richer. And their rich donors are going to keep donating, and their rich donors are going to keep throwing parties, and they're going to keep throwing fundraisers, and all the friends are going to remain friends. There's nothing that's going to happen. The worst thing that can happen is this. If Hillary Clinton loses the presidency, there is literally no reason for that foundation to stay open. I'm not kidding. If she isn't elected president, you think they're going to continue to get donations of $30 million, $10 million, $1 million? There won't be any reason to give that foundation any money if she's not elected president. If she's not elected president, she's not going to be appointed something in Trump's campaign, we don't think. Stop and think of it that way. Everybody says, oh, the charity, man, it does such great work. Yeah, well, it won't survive if she doesn't win the presidency. What does that tell you about what it is? Hey, Limbaugh, you're forgetting something. You're forgetting Chelsea. I'm not forgetting her, Mr. President. I think she's got a prayer being elected president, and you're not going to have people give you $30 million on the come. She's going to be elected president in 10 or 15 years. It isn't going to happen. This is just, it is sleaze beyond the pale. Sleaze doesn't even describe what this is. But, you know, even I'm guilty of this. We all laugh about it. We chuckle about it. It's the Clintons, and it's more of the same. It's just worse than what they've done prior. But there isn't any itinerant or accompanying outrage by any of the people who are uncovering, even the AP in uncovering the story. They don't really have a whole lot bad to say about it. They just are reporting the facts, which that's more than we can expect from this bunch. And, of course, USA Today shut it down, but that's only because it helps Trump. Not because it's wrong, not because it's sleazy, not because it's not even democratic. This is it's beyond the pale. Now, before we end this segment, I want to circle back here. Michael Goodwin, columnist at the New York Post. The only question left for Hillary is, what else are you hiding? He is of the opinion everything we know about this doesn't explain why it's happening. And let me run through the reasons, okay? Some people might say that they want to get rich. Even I have said that there'll never be enough money for the Clintons. Ever since they got into politics, well, ever since they went to Yale, they have been surrounded by real wealth. I mean, blue blood wealth. I mean, the kind of money that they have never even only dreamed of. And it's tough when that's your circle of friends and you don't have it. So they've had this quest to get rich and to do it as quickly as they can ever since they got married and went to Arkansas. It's been what their primary existence has been, is to get rich, to leverage everything they accomplish toward getting big money. And never will they ever have enough, is the theory. And that's why they're continuing to do this. Goodwin says the easy answers about why she did what she did. I mean, all of this stuff puts her at risk. The private email server, which she had to know was going to be discovered. This accepting donations in exchange for policy preferences for donors, pay and play. This is why risk your presidential aspirations this way. And the answer to that question is what everybody's searching. There's got to be something more that we don't understand. The easy answers about why she did all of this are too obvious. Wanted to get rich, didn't want anybody to know her business. Throw in her chronic paranoia, her chronic sense of entitlement, and she and Bill had a rationale for thinking they were above the law. They had escaped his impeachment trial, so they believe they had lifetime immunity. And I believe they think they do. But it's impossible to believe that that's all there is in terms of explaining why they are doing this. Goodwin writes there has to be more, probably something so big and awful it would destroy her if it is discovered. The added riches they collected through what Goodwin says, I believe, are corrupt actions were not necessary. They were getting legitimately rich on his and her book contracts and speeches. What difference would another donation make to the foundation? It was already swimming in more money than it could spend. And because none of this adds up to a coherent explanation, Goodwin says, I believe we are still in the dark about a hidden bombshell. There must be a secret, unholy grail that explains the self-destructive behavior that all of this is, the stonewalling, the lying. But he says he's not going to speculate what it is because his imagination is too limited and is no match for what the Clintons can imagine. They pioneered new ways of selling access, Lincoln bedroom, and so forth. I found the question intriguing. Because even if you think the Clintons do think they're immune and they've got the press in their back pocket and they think they can get away with any scandal whatsoever, they're still... See, when she starts all this, when Bill and Hillary start all this foundation stuff, Clinton Global Initiative, selling access as Secretary of State, then selling access on the come as president, they can't possibly know 4 years ago that the Republicans are going to nominate Donald Trump. They have got to figure the Republicans are going to nominate somebody they consider formidable. Maybe they don't. Maybe they think the Republicans are such patsies that the Republicans aren't going to pursue anything discovered that the Clintons do. But clearly, they put a lot of their aspirations at risk engaging in this wanton, unethical behavior, with now USA Today demanding that they shut it down. The question remains why. Okay, I got to take a break, and we come back, and I can return to the phones. I got a great roster of people waiting here. We'll get to it right after this. Your guiding light. It's L. Rushbaugh, as usual, half my brain tied behind my back. Just so everybody knows it's fair. And we go to St. Louis. Richard, you're next. Great to have you on the program, sir. Hi.
Hey, Rush. What an honor it is to finally talk to you after all these years.
Thank you, sir. What part of St. Louis do you live in?
Dogtown.
Downtown St. Louis. Cool. Okay. Mansion house?
Say that one more time.
Mansion house?
Mansion house, I've been there. Don't go there too much. Old lady doesn't let me get too far from home, but I do go there every now and then.
All right, but you're nearby, nevertheless.
And I've been to Cape, and I hear the commercials that you do for your guy down here. I'm familiar with the area. It's a good area. It really is.
You've been well. Thank you, Barry. I appreciate that.
Hey, I need to tell you, really, in all sincerity, that even though I am a liberal, and I am 100% a liberal, and I have listened to you for so many years, I think that people should understand, especially your base, that people like me actually get something from your program. While I rarely agree with your end conclusions, I always follow your logic 100% of the time, and you've got me to self-reevaluate before and even change my position in the past. So when I'm listening to you, I'm not trying to think of how I can find fault in what you're saying or to one-up you. I'm literally listening because you give me information that I'm not going to hear on the networks, especially about the players and the relationships between the players. So I appreciate you for literally what it is, and it doesn't hurt that you have a little subtle humor every now and then. I just wanted to let you know I may be a liberal, but I really do get something from your show.
Well, it's fascinating. I appreciate that. Part of what you've said was that as you listen to me, you learn things you didn't know, particularly about players, and at the end of the day, it cements your liberalism. I'm not persuading you. You're becoming an even more solid liberal after listening to me and enjoying it.
Oh, for the most part, that's 100% true. But listen, a month ago, you had me worried to the point I had to go on Wikipedia and look up Republican core values just to make sure you hadn't converted me without me knowing it.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. I have not. First time I have been told that I'm actually helping people cement themselves in their liberalism.
Well, you really do, and I'll tell you, here's where we found common ground. I am a veteran as well. And I want you to understand, and I'm sure you do already, that once you get outside of Crystal City, this lady has no support in the military at all. And I really think Trump should expose that more. He already runs the narrative of crooked Hillary. We need to expose more things like you're talking about the foundation. No doubt, you can't have that in the capacity she has and not be corrupt. And I should also go on and tell you that I used to look back on Clinton's years as president as fondly as Republicans today look back at Ronnie. And
no, I understand that. Look, I got a break coming up. Can you hang on for a couple of minutes here until we get to the next break?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I totally understand why you would just love the Clinton years as a liberal. And we are back with Richard in St. Louis, who has acknowledged that he is a full-fledged, thoroughbred liberal, 100%, who nevertheless enjoys the program. When we sadly had to interrupt you, you were telling me that you think back of the Clinton years the way we think of the Reagan years.
Right. I'm aware that back in the day, the guy wasn't thought too fondly of by his own party, but as the years went by, that kind of changed. And listen. Wait.
Who wasn't thought fondly of by his own party back in the day?
I don't think the Republicans really gave him the respect he deserved, much in the same way that Obama gets it from both sides as well. And listen, the reason I think that is because he always had to fall back on his wit. You remember the time he was walking away out of the back garden, some reporter says something like, Mr. President, what about the Jackson charges? What do you think about those? And he just turned around and he said, well, I think he ought to pay him. And then he walked away. It's like the guy knew how to handle folks, but I don't think he was appreciated until we had several presidents that could not even perform up to his standard, and then we knew what we had in him.
Okay, well, I'm a little disagreement. I think during Reagan's 8 years, the people that voted for him loved him intensely and appreciated him throughout and even after he left. I was going to say that the reason you like Clinton, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's so much rooted in policy. I don't think it's rooted in whatever Clinton is perceived to have done to make life better in America, make the country better. I think Clinton was respected, loved, and adored because he made mincemeat out of us. I think the left and Democrats loved Bill Clinton because he beat us apparently so easily. I think that's, to this day, why he is respected, admired, and liked.
It could very well be, and I will tell you that has changed for me, unfortunately, and I don't like that fact, but I will tell you why, and this is where Hillary plays into all this. Let's think about this for a second on this Benghazi appearance. Now, as a veteran, I was very interested in her making that appearance because I had talked to other service members, former service members, current service members. We all needed to know, essentially, for our own knowledge, how we could have been part of the most advanced military in the world, had the leeway we had to respond to the situation, and yet we lost an ambassador and a security detail. We all know, without even digging into it, somebody dropped the ball. So as I think back on that situation, I remember Clinton and how he appeared before Congress. And you know what she did? She took a page out of his playbook, and she simply tweaked it. She said, where you dropped the ball, Bill, was you lied, and that's how they got you. Not for what you did, but for the lie, just like you said earlier. So she tweaked it. She went in there defiant. I'm not telling you guys nothing. I'll talk about how we can prevent it, but not as to what caused it. And she didn't lie, and therefore it's 2 years later. No one really knows any more than what they did then. So she smartened up. She used her wits. I hate to use the word crooked. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm not a detractor, and I do believe 100% she's as corrupt as she can be.
Are you going to vote for her?
How anyone?
Are you going to vote for her?
No, I will not. I will not vote for her, and I can't see how any veteran in their good conscience could support that.
Well, what are you going to do then? You said you're not going to vote for Trump. So who is it? Gary Johnson? Jill Stein? Who are you going to vote for?
I'm really in a conundrum because I am always told by my friends, well, if you don't vote, you're voting for the other guy. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that, but I think it is my civic duty to vote. It's just, what do you do when your options are all disappointing?
Yeah, I actually think that attitude might be common among more people in this election cycle than we know. And I wouldn't presume to tell you what to do. But I can't relate to it. I am in where I don't care what else. It's not going to be her. And I think most Trump people. Here is my evidence for this. And by the way, Richard, thank you again for the call. I really appreciate it, and you're really, really mature and kind. This is the first Liberals call here has not resorted to name calling in 30 seconds. See, we can have civil discussions with Liberals on this program. He was a great guy. Okay, so Trump is apparently softening his position on immigration. That's what the drive-bys are saying. Trump is now saying, well, I don't know about deportation. Well, we're going to talk about it. Well, some of these are really good people. Well, and the drive-bys are just ecstatic because they think Trump is totally reversing himself. And they think Trump is totally reversing himself on his number one issue. The only reason he has support, they think he's committing suicide. So the drive-bys went out, and they started doing man-on-the-street interviews with Trumpists. And they wanted to know, how do you feel now that Donald Trump has sold you out? How do you feel that Trump is maybe not going to build a wall, that Trump maybe is not going to deport all it? And they're not finding anybody mad at him. They're mad about that. What they're finding are Trumpists saying, well, you know, it's not the primaries, it's the general. Got to make some modifications, got to do some changes here, got to reach out to a little bit more people. Totally understandable. He might have to modify his position. And then the drive-by, you don't think he lied to you then? You don't think, no, not at all. He's doing what he has to do to get what he wants accomplished. In other words, Trump's supporters are not leaving him over this, at least here in the early stages of analysis. Now, the drive-bys thought for certain that they would. You could see it the minute this story broke, the minute Trump said what he said that caused all this. You could just see the drive-bys salivating. I mean, you could see the saliva literally dripping from the corners of their mouths down to the floor. They were so excited. They thought there was going to be a mass protest against Trump. They thought that Trumpists nationwide were going to rise up and abandon Trump and start getting mad and say, see, we can't trust anybody. And it didn't happen. And it didn't happen because they don't understand the connection that Trump supporters have for him. And there are many elements to that connection. And I'm going to tell you what one of them is. And if there are any of you in the drive-bys listening now who really want to learn and really want to understand, I mean, really want to know, I'm going to give you a hint. I don't know what percentage of Trump supporters this applies to, but I know it's big. Are you ready? I'm going to say it very slowly so that it has maximum impact. Trump supporters don't care what he does or what he says because there is no way they are going to do anything that helps elect Hillary Clinton. It's no more complicated than that. There are many other reasons why Trump supporters support him, and I don't know what percentage of the Trump support base represented by what I just said, but it's a sizable number of Trump supporters. Now, you drive-bys are looking for mass defections. You're looking for people to be disappointed. You're looking at people to think that Trump has sold them out, lied to them. You're waiting for them to, in effect, come to Jesus and realize that they've been snookered from day one by Trump. You're not going to find it. Because this has been bigger than Trump. It's about more than Trump since this movement that's there, however big it is, existed before Trump came along. Trump happens to be the guy, whether by accident or by design, who connected with this movement. Again, unknown how big it is. There are many reasons why Trump supporters support Trump. There are many reasons why Trump supporters are loyal. There are many reasons why people are going to vote for Trump and are excited. There's a lot of reasons why Trump draws huge crowds with lots of energy. One of the reasons why some of those people will never abandon Trump is because they're not going to do anything that in their minds would help Hillary Clinton get elected. And this is something the drive-bys can't understand because they love Hillary. I mean, they're Democrats. They're leftists like she is. They think she's due to be coronated. They're going to treat her like a queen if she is elected. And they can't understand other people not seeing this. So the only way they can chalk it up is you people that don't see Hillary for what you're just biased, you're sexists, you're bigots, you're chauvinists, you're numbskulls, you're idiots. And the proof to them will be that even when Trump sells you out, in their opinion, you will not abandon him. So there's something wrong with you, and they will never understand, I don't think, just how fervent, just how solid the no way Hillary Clinton as president group of people is that's supporting Trump. Maybe even some of the libertarians that are supporting other people too. Hillary Clinton is the worst Democrat candidate that party has ever nominated. All this talk about Trump being the worst presidential candidate any party has ever nominated. Maybe, but Hillary Clinton's a close second, and she is the worst candidate the Democrat Party has ever nominated. She is a walking disaster waiting to happen in I don't know how many ways. And believe me, like our guy from St. Louis, there are a lot of people out there looking at all of this and think, is this the best we've got? And you might start asking yourself, well, it may not be the best we have, but it may be a reflection of what we've become. I mean, these two did win, after all. Take a brief time out here, my friends. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Back to the phones. Who's next? This is Rob in Colorado Springs. It's great to have you on the program, sir. Hi.
Rush, it is an honor to talk with you, as always.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I am a Rush-raised millennial. I'm also a technology aficionado like yourself and a big Apple fan.
Well, cool.
I want you to know that there is a large chunk of your audience who love when you talk about technology and tech blogs and everything like that. And I'm here to suggest that I think you should spend either an entire show or maybe start creating a podcast where that's all you talk about, because it's great to hear an insightful conservative voice, which obviously we don't get from the tech blogs that we read right now.
No, that's true. The tech blogs are mostly young millennial leftists who are scared to death the planet's
It's very informative. You have some really keen insights, and it's just too bad that we only get to hear you talk about it every once in a while.
Well, I really appreciate you saying this. How long have you been listening to the program?
I have been listening to the program since I was 18 years old.
And
I'm now 30.
So 12 years. Oh, well, then you might have heard me talk about this. But going way back to year 5 of this program in 1992, 93, if I deviated from discussing whatever the news of the day was, say to talk about the NFL or to talk about golf, I was inundated with complaints from my audience. And the theme was, stick to the issues. We don't care about football. We don't care about golf. We don't care. And every time, it's still to this day, when I deviate from the issues of the day, I hear from what I call them the stick to the issues crowd. So when I deviate now and go tech, there's a contingent of people that think I ought to hate Apple just for political reasons, and they think I'm selling out by discussing Apple in a positive way and tech in general. I would love to spend more time talking. In fact, we're working, I can't give away too much right now, but we're working here on a website redesign. And I hope that this happens relatively soon, because one of the things I want to do with it is have an entire section of it devoted just to tech and my thoughts, passions, and things, whatever day to day that interest me. That's where I'll do it. And that makes it elective. The audience can go there and check what they want. And it will consist of many different things. But the whole subject fascinates my hobby. It's where I go to get away from the quote unquote news of the day. So I am very happy to hear that it interests you and that you don't mind listening to it.
And I think that you've built a base of millennials and people who are younger of me because you delve into that category and don't just talk about politics and everything else that's going on. Because even if they draw the wrong conclusions and their skulls full of mush because they read all these tech blogs, you do provide something that they're interested in, and that includes the technology and the way we use it today.
And it's only going to grow. It's only going to get more incredible. It's I'll tell you something, Rob. My whole life, I have always said I don't mind getting older. When I was 15, I wanted to be 18. 18, I wanted to be 21. 21, wanted to be 25. 25, wanted to be 30. Because the way I looked at it, people older than me, no matter what age I was, seemed happier, more productive, better off. I wanted that. I wanted to be independent, self-reliant, and that hasn't changed. There's one thing now that is making me regret getting older. Tech. I'm starting to think of all the things I'm going to miss. It's just I'm fascinated by it. I'm intrigued by it, and it is advancing so rapidly that I wonder what it's going to be in 15 or 20 years. You know, it's unimaginable to us now. Where we are now with some of this stuff is unimaginable 15 years ago or 10, other than to the innovators and the inventors who made it all happen. But it's the only thing. The only thing that has made me not regret. I don't regret anything. It's the only thing that makes me, I don't know, disappointed about getting older. You know, so I quietly, so you talk Apple. Let's say Apple has a 10-year plan for the iPhone. Would you make it a 3-year plan? Just to make sure that I see it. You know, that's my attitude. And don't read anything into the number of years. I'm just using those as a descriptive technique. I appreciate the call. I really do, Rob. We'll be back after this with much more. Don't go away. Just in from thehill.com, there's a new poll that shows Donald Trump up in Florida. Now, if you've been paying attention, Trump is supposedly getting shellacked in all these battleground states. So shellacked that Hillary may not even campaign in some of them. But there's a new Florida Atlantic University survey released just this afternoon that shows that Trump is now leading Hillary 43-41. That's a margin of error lead, but it's still a lead. It's the first poll showing Trump leading Clinton in Florida since early July. And you've heard that these polls are tightening, and they are. Trump is gaining. She's losing a little ground. Is there time? It is the fastest 3 hours in media. Rush Limbaugh here at 800-282-2882, the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Great to have you with us. New York Times think Hillary Clinton will win in a landslide. Don't bet on it. So we've got this new poll from Florida Atlantic University. Trump up 43-41 over Hillary in Florida. We've got a Reuters poll that shows Hillary up 12 nationally. But remember, in that poll, they don't count the undecideds. Now, in all these battleground states, the narrative is that Trump is losing. But who cares about the national polls, they say. In these battleground states Trump has to win. You can barely see him anymore. He's in the rearview mirror, and he's getting further and further away. Doesn't seem to be any way he can reverse field. Hillary running out the clock, not even going to do any campaign appearances because she realizes that the media is running the campaign for her. And then this poll shows up. And amidst other stories about how it's tightening, that Trump is gaining ground, but then the accompanying stories are, is there enough time? Then people say, well, wait till the debates, Rush. Anything can happen in the debates. Debates, I mean, she could get skunked, he could get skunked. You never know. The debates, the thing hasn't even really begun now. Then Trump came out with his supposed softening on immigration. And now we've got the New York Times saying, hey, if you think she's going to win in a landslide, you better not bet on it. And they go on to explain why. The vote may be more favorable to Trump than the worst-case scenario prognosticators suggest for a simple reason. Landslides do not really happen in presidential elections anymore. Oh, so that's why? They got a whole story here with a headline, think Hillary's going to win in a landslide, don't bet on it. And the only reason why is that landslides don't happen anymore? You talk about a giant suck you in. This is what is called clickbait in the tech community. They just want people clicking, and that equals ostensibly hits, which leads to advertising revenue, supposedly. Anyway, my thinking on this, with Hillary basically phoning it in now, and they're making no bones about it, by the way. The Democrat Party, other than their fundraising, which they seem hell-bent on, but that's nothing really odd. That's what the Clintons do, is ask people for money. That's essentially the reason they're alive, is to ask people for money. And they're probably better at it than most anybody else. But aside from that, no press conferences, no campaign appearances. Let the media run the campaign, essentially. And it's the old overconfidence aspect settling in. And it makes a lot of people on the Democrat side nervous. And I think privately they're a little bit more nervous than they admit, simply because they saw what happened during the primaries. They saw what Trump can do. So I don't think this show that they're putting on of, hey, it's over. This guy's a buffoon. He has no prayer. Everybody loves Hillary. She's going to win this thing in a walk. I think that a lot of that is making others on the Democrat side a little nervous. And we're not talking about Babe Ruth here calling her shot. I mean, Hillary Clinton is got her own problem with negatives. She has her own problem with people that don't like her. In fact, this may be an election, one of those elections where more people vote against somebody than actually vote for somebody. It could well be. Let's go to the audio sound bites. And Trump. Now, this was last night on Hannity. It's a town hall in Austin, Texas, with Trump. And the question, you seem to be, in the last week, revisiting the issue of immigration, sending everybody back that is here illegally. So where do you stand on that now?
We want to follow the laws. We have very strong laws. We have very strong laws in this country. If you start going around trying to make new laws in this country, it's a process that's brutal. We want to follow the laws of the country. And if we follow the laws, we can do what we have to do. We've got some great people in this country. They shouldn't be here. They're still great people, all right? But we've got some really, really bad gang members and some horrible people.
Start with them.
Those people are going out day one. They're going to be the first order I sign. They're going out day one.
Okay, so not a big deal there. I mean, the question is, okay, Mr. Trump, you're starting to revisit the issue of sending everybody back. And the answer is, well, we want to follow the law. You hear them cheer? No matter what, they cheer. We want to follow the law because they understand that that's not what the Clintons are doing. It's not what the Democrats are. It's not what Obama's doing. These guys are extra-constitutional executive orders and this kind of stuff. But it's this bite coming up that had the drive-bys practically unable to contain themselves with joy and excitement today. So Hannity says, well, is there any part of the law that you might be able to change that would accommodate those people that are here illegally, who contribute to society, who have been law-abiding, who have kids here? Would there be any room in your mind where you could maybe moderate a little bit? Maybe not send them all back. Maybe keep the good ones. Keep the law-abiding. Keep the productive. Keep the parents. Keep the kids, because I know you had a meeting this week with Hispanic leaders.
I did. There certainly can be a softening because we're not looking to hurt people. We want people. We have some great people in this country. We have some great people in this country. But we're going to follow the laws of this country. What people don't realize, we have very, very strong laws.
Yeah, but
Nobody
Obama doesn't follow them. He doesn't care.
They don't follow them.
Yeah.
But we're going to follow the laws.
All right, now that's the bite that had the drive-by talking today that Trump is softening. Hey, it used to be, they got to go. They got to go. They got to go. We're going to send them back. Send them way back. Way, way back. We're going to send them back. They got to go. They can't stay. Now it's become, well, some of them are great people. Some of them have kids, some jobs, some are productive, create great things, contribute to society, but law-abiding. Yeah, I can see not sending all those people. We're going to focus on the rot gut. We're going to go out there. We're going to find these gang members, and we're just going to bang them right out of here. No matter what he said, there was raucous applause. The drive-bys took this and ran with it, and they said, the Trump campaign doesn't know what it's doing. The Trump campaign is softening. Then they started asking, is this Kellyanne Conway? Is it Bannon? And Byron York had a piece. That Trump campaign doesn't know what it's saying anymore. The Trump campaign's trampling all over itself. The Trump campaign can't get out of its own way. And here's how the media started reacting to it, accusing him of flip-flopping. This is from last night, a montage of various drive-bys.
Donald Trump says he may be, quote, softening his hardline stance on immigration.
Donald Trump is signaling a new softening on immigration.
Softening his hardline position on immigration.
Maybe softening his stance on immigration.
He may be willing to soften his plan for mass deportations.
He might soften some of his immigration positions.
Where did Trump ever say soften? I've got two sound bites here, and I don't find Trump using the word. Did Hannity use the word? No, I see it there. What's that? Yeah, but okay, there certainly can be some softening. All right, there it is. So they picked up on it. They're going to soften here, soften there, and they think it's a flip-flop. They think Trump's people should be abandoning him left and right. As I say, they've been out there doing man-on-the-street interviews, trying to figure it out. And they can't find any Trumps, not any significant number anyway, who are abandoning Trump over this. And they thought that was going to happen. Let's listen to a little bit of Trump. This was in Austin last night. And we've got some bites from what many are saying was another great Trump appearance. Here we go.
Tonight's message is about redeclaring our independence as a country. On November 8th, a very, very important date, we are going to declare our independence from special interest, corrupt politicians, and I might add, very corrupt politicians. And from a rigged system that benefits only the insiders. We are going to declare our independence from politicians who don't listen to us and media executives that don't care about us, and by the way, who never report our massive and very, very friendly crowds. That's for sure.
And the crowd went nuts there. Trump's back at it right. He's in Tampa with another appearance at this moment. Last night in Austin, Trump refined his outreach to African Americans.
The percentage of black Americans in poverty has grown under Obama, the Census Bureau reports, from 25.8% in 2009 to 26.2%, up too much. Too much. The number of blacks on food stamps soared under Obama to 11.7 million people in 2014, up 58.2%. Also, from Obama's arrival through last June 30th, the percentage of black Americans who own homes plunged 41.7%. Nearly 4 in 10 African-American children live in poverty. That's no good and not fair.
And he kept on, folks. He's not deterred. He continued on this same line.
58% of young African-Americans are not employed. Homicide is up nearly 50% in Washington, D.C., and up more than 60% in Baltimore, and up throughout all of our inner cities. Violent crime rose 17% in the 50 largest U.S. cities. This is the legacy of President Obama and Hillary Clinton. It can't get any worse. To those suffering, I say, what do you have to lose in trying Trump? What do you have to lose? I will fix it. I will fix it.
Okay, there you go. Now, here's a Trump audience going nuts over the prospect of improving the lives of African Americans. They're applauding it. They're all for it. We conservatives are all for everybody doing better. We want great things for everybody. We want everybody accessing every opportunity that they can. We live in the greatest country on earth. It's got incredible bounty. We want everybody experiencing it. Now, in the last couple of days, I have been commenting on this, And I found that many conservatives disagree with me. I have been, for the most part, thinking, Trump, this is a good outreach. And most people are saying, no, Rush, this is not the way to do it. This is demeaning, this is humiliating. This is Trump telling African Americans how rotten their lives are, even if he is trying to blame it on Democrats. This is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it. It shouldn't happen. And I think to myself, if I were trying to outreach to African Americans as a candidate, I'd do something similar. You know, I'd ask them, you've been voting Democrat your whole lives and then some, and what's it gotten you? Well, I know, that's the thing. But here's what I found this actually addressed last night as I was digging deep into show prep for today. And somebody actually went to a group of African Americans and asked them how they are reacting to Trump. Now, remember, many conservatives think that Trump's not really reaching out to African Americans here with this, that what he's really trying to do is show white, college-educated people, and in particular women, that he's not racist, that he's not bigoted, that he likes everybody. In other words, his target is not African Americans with this, but it's with white people that doubt him. That's the theory. So I ran across this. I don't remember specifically what it was. And I was in the middle of something. I was on an iPad. I couldn't print it at the time, but I remember it. And it was a story interviewing several African Americans, and they were asked to respond to Trump's pitch. And it was exactly what my wild guess assumed it would be. They don't care what Trump's saying because they don't really think he cares, because he's a Republican. And they admitted, the people in this story, the African Americans in the story admitted, yeah, but at least the Democrats care. It didn't matter to them that Democrat Party policies not only have not worked, they probably have made things worse. It didn't matter. The results, the actual reality of life on the ground didn't matter. The reason that they are not going to abandon Democrats is because in their minds the Democrats care more. The Democrats care for real. And they think Trump is just saying this stuff. Now that is the result of 50 years of branding or more. So simply reaching out, apparently, and expressing your desires and your hopes for African Americans as a Republican is not nearly enough. I don't know what is, but apparently that's not the way to do it. Back in a sec. Back to the phones we go. This is Robert in Owasso, Oklahoma. It's great to have you with us here on the EIB Network. Hello.
Hi, Rush.
Hey.
It is an honor to speak with you. I've been listening to you on a daily basis since the Oklahoma City bombings. So this definitely is something I can mark off my bucket list.
Well, that's 1996, 95, somewhere around in there. Yeah, that's many moons, little Indian lingo.
Yes. The question I had was regarding that AP story. Secretary Clinton signed a separation agreement that she was not going to be doing business with the foundation when she was Secretary of State. So essentially, she not only lied to the administration, she lied to the president. So at this point, what does Obama, what is going to safeguard him? I mean, why would he not go ahead and unleash the Department of Justice and say, investigate all of them?
Well, why would Obama not unleash the Department of Justice on her private email server and the things that went on there? This requires pure speculation. I mean, there's so many different competing theories here. I mean, some people have the theory that Obama hates Hillary, just doesn't like her. So why did he make her Secretary of State? Well, it's to keep her in the tent, not outside the tent. It's the old thing. You make her a part of the regime so she can't rip the regime. And if she's in the regime, she's got to be a loyal player, particularly if she wants to go further. So, well, then why, if Obama hates her, why did Obama help pay off her campaign? Same thing. Same thing. You don't want the Clintons out there trashing you in your first term while you're trying to obliterate the Constitution, do whatever else you're trying to do. So then why not unleash things on her if, for example, what you mentioned, the pay-to-play operation at the State Department. I look at wild guess here, but it's obvious, it's apparent that Obama doesn't want to do anything that's going to damage Hillary Clinton's presidential candidacy. He's had clear and present opportunities to do it. Doesn't want to. Have to chalk it up to party loyalty. Have to chalk it up to don't want the Republicans coming in here and unraveling everything I've done. And also, by letting her skate, she is going to continue to owe him, which gives him continuing leverage over her. Am I understanding your question correctly?
Yes, sir. I guess my point is, I think we've all come to the conclusion that Obama is pretty much a narcissist, and this is going to be about his legacy. His policies haven't worked. Obamacare's, falling apart. Foreign policy is a joke.
That's not going to be that's not going to be his legacy. His legacy is going to be national socialized medicine. Obama's legacy is going to be he tried markets, and they didn't work. And he had to the government had to come in and rescue the beleaguered healthcare system. The people writing about Obama today are the ones who are going to write his legacy, and it's not going to be negative. Are you stumped on that one?
No, sir, not at all. Just wanted to level a clarification on that. And one last thing before we go. I said, it's an honor to talk to you. But I want to get back to something Nathan said, one of your first callers, about President Reagan. And I'm of that generation that grew up with him as commander-in-chief. And, the safety and leadership that he showed, that's definitely something we miss. And I think that for a screwball as he is sometimes, I think Trump reminds a lot of people of President Reagan.
I hear that. That is always, I'll be honest, that has intrigued me. I know people who worked for Reagan who have gotten on the Trump bandwagon from day one. And I called him. Well, I don't call anybody. I sent him an email. And I said, what is it? What? Reminds me of Reagan, Rush. Reminds me of Reagan early days. Reminds me of... I said, you got to be kidding. Nope. I see the same potential. I've heard that from a bunch of people that work with Reagan. I've also heard from other people that work for Reagan, when they hear that, they want to throw up. They don't think there's anything to that at all. I mean, the opinions on Trump are all over the place. We call it perfect polarization in the media business. But I hear from a lot of other people that Trump reminds them of what they think, what they remember Reagan was. And I'll tell you what I think it is. Reagan beat the media. And Reagan did not have any help. Reagan did not have a Fox News. Reagan did not have me. He didn't have talk radio. Reagan had a couple of magazines, and that was it. Everything else, there were 3 networks and the newspapers, and that was it. And Reagan won 2 landslides. Reagan had the ability to go over the heads of the media and connect with the American people almost on a one-on-one basis. And he won 2 landslides, 49 states in the second one. And he was not brash with the media. He laughed at the media. He chuckled with them and all that. He never bashed them like Trump does. But the media tried as hard as they could, and the Democrats tried as hard as they could to take Reagan out, and they failed. And I think that's what people see in Trump. They see somebody willing to take on the media that the media can't harm. And I wouldn't discount that, folks. Among people on our side, lifelong Republicans, lifelong conservatives, the degree of frustration felt over the success the media has in destroying people on our side. When they come along and try to destroy somebody and the person survives and triumphs, I think people are drawn to that. And I think that's one of the reasons Trump has the appeal he does. It's not by any means the sole reason, but it's a key. Here's Jim in Londonderry, New Hampshire. You're next. It's great to have you on the program, sir. Hi.
Rush,
hey.
Honor, a long-time listener, and mega dittos.
Thank you, sir, very much.
I respect your intellectual clarity in a lot of the issues that are going on, but what I want really everybody to know is that there is a grassroots movement of people who never voted before. They are just sitting there waiting, and it's going to happen. Nobody's, really vocal about what they feel, but they're going to go for the best of two evils. And I'm out in the, I guess you could say, the population with my work. I take care of network issues for a large grocery chain. So I'm in the neighborhood, neighborhoods all over the U.S. And everybody that you talk to, everybody.
Well, you're breaking up on your cell call there, but I think I got the gist of it. And let me repeat something I said in the first hour. I got a bunch of emails from people who really took me to task yesterday. I gave people the impression that I think that there is this giant, bursting, silent majority that nobody knows. The pollsters are not finding it, and that they're sitting out there lurking. And when Election Day comes, they're going to show up in droves, and Trump's going to win in a landslide and shock everybody. And people sent me emails, Rush, that's not possible. I mean, if that movement existed, we would know about it. The media would be finding them. The pollsters would find them. Said, you're dreaming. So I had to stop. What did I say that makes them think that? So I went back and reviewed, and it was, again, yesterday, I quoted Robert Costa in the Washington Post. In fact, we've got the bite. Grab the bite. Soundbite number 20. In fact, let me get I got to take a timeout anyway, so let me take the timeout, and I'll come back and explain this, because the emails last night misunderstood what I was saying yesterday and think that I'm dead wrong. There isn't this giant silent majority out there that's just waiting to show up. There may be a bunch of people, but it's not a majority, and it isn't enough to help Trump. That was the upshot of the notes I got last night. Back in just a second. Okay, Selena Zito had a column yesterday about all the people she found in rural Pennsylvania driving through small towns, all the Trump signs. And she said, these people used to be the backbone of America. These people are for Trump left and right, and nobody's talking about them. Nobody's finding them. They're not in the big cities. She didn't say they're going to engineer a Trump victory. She just said that there's a lot of support for Trump out there people aren't talking about. I mentioned that, and then I quoted again this audio soundbite.
It's wider than any party. I mean, it includes some Bernie Sanders supporters. It includes some libertarians. But the most important voter in this movement, when I travel around the country, is the previously disengaged voter. They're almost a nonpartisan voter, but they've given up not just on the political process, but they've disengaged from civic society. They don't really follow politics. If that is a real coherent voting bloc, then Trump, regardless of the polls, will have a shot in November, and regardless of all this mistakes, because that is a huge bloc. There's so much of this country that rarely, if ever, votes. And if for some reason they come to the polls in droves, that changes everything.
Okay, so I mentioned that after reading Selena Zito's piece, and I got emails from people last night. You're dreaming. You're giving people the wrong idea. You're making people think the polls are wrong. You're trying to tell people there's this giant voting bloc out there waiting to vote for Trump and nobody's finding, and you're being irresponsible. You're misleading people. I was not doing anything of the sort. I'm simply telling you what other people are saying. In this case, Costa is a Washington Post reporter, used to be at National Review, and Selena Zito writes at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. And it happens to be true. if you travel through small town, there are a lot of people that don't vote. They have disengaged because they think politics doesn't mean anything. It's not helpful to them. They think their votes don't matter. 70% of the people think the country is traveling in the wrong direction. And if you put those two things together, and Costa spells it out better than I have, if those people exist and if they show up, it changes everybody's calculations. But I'm not trying to tell anybody the polls are wrong. I'm not sitting here trying to give anybody false hope. It's amazing. I happen to just mention what other people are saying. And these emails came in last night. Well, you're misleading people. It's irresponsible what you're doing. One of the points was if there are that many people, for whatever reason, that are waiting to vote for Trump, believe me, Rush, they would have been found and you would find evidence of their existence in the polls. So make of that what you will. But here we've got another guy. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to get to him here, but Auburn Hills, Michigan, he says, seeing the same thing. I've had this sitting around here for a while. This might be an appropriate time to mention it. It's a YouGov poll that was taken in Ohio recently. And the upshot of this poll is there's many aspects of it, but one of the aspects of this poll is that nearly 20% of people who say they're not voting for Trump would reconsider if he apologizes to the people he's offended. Now, this poll predates Trump apologizing if he offended anybody. Now, do you believe something like this? I mean, who would even think to ask this question? Would you change your opinion of Trump if he apologized? 20% of the people ask this question. Yep, I would reconsider if Trump would apologize. That was in Ohio. All right, folks, that's it for today. Thanks so much. Back here tomorrow. See you then.